You get an MRI. Across town, a stranger gets the identical scan the same afternoon. You pay $400, they pay $2,800. Neither of you did anything differently. You just walked through different doors. In the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly where that other $2,400 goes. Quick note before we keep going. This channel does one thing. It takes a number that makes no sense and takes it apart until it does. If that's your kind of thing, subscribe. There's a new investigation every week. And if you've never stared at one of these bills and have no idea what you were actually looking at, the codes, the fees, the 5 different prices, I put together a field guide that decodes the whole thing line by line. It's linked in the description. It's a decoder, not advice. It just tells you what everything means. And now, back to the scan. Here's what a basic MRI costs around the world. Same scan every time. A knee, no contrast. New Zealand, about $900. Germany, a little over $600. The United Kingdom, $527. In the United States, $566. Right in the middle, below New Zealand, below Germany. If you've heard your whole life that American healthcare is the most expensive on earth, that number is a little confusing. For this scan, on average, America looks almost ordinary. Except that average is hiding something. In America, one tidy national number can sit on top of an enormous spread of prices underneath it, and that spread is the real story. Let's be clear about one thing up front. That $566 figure isn't wrong, and that's exactly what makes it interesting. A national average can be perfectly accurate and still tell you almost nothing about the price attached to any one particular scan. To understand American MRI pricing, the average might be the least interesting number on the page. The range is where the story is. So the question for the rest of this video is narrow and strange. How can a country with a $566 average also produce prices several times higher than that for the very same procedure? Start with the scan itself, because that part barely changes. An MRI machine costs a hospital somewhere between $1 and $3 million, and a handful of global companies make almost all of them. Siemens, GE, Philips, a clinic in Ohio, and a clinic in Auckland can be running the identical model. The scan takes 20 to 40 minutes, a technician runs it, a radiologist reads it after. Different countries reach their prices in very different ways, and we're not going to pretend they all work alike. The chart raises a sharper question about America specifically. The procedure is standardized, so why isn't the price? Start with a benchmark. When Medicare pays for this procedure, the allowed amount comes to around $200, depending on the setting and where you are. That's not a theoretical number. It's an actual reimbursement rate used every day in the Medicare system. $200. Hold on to that. So already we have two numbers that don't match. The international average, $566. Medicare, around $200. Now let's zoom in and watch the latter stretch. Zoom into a single American city. When researchers called 122 imaging centers across 43 cities and asked the price of this exact scan, a knee MRI without contrast, they found something odd. It wasn't just that expensive cities beat cheap ones. Within a single city, the gap between the lowest and highest center reached around $1,600. Same procedure, same town, $1,600 apart. And that's before hospitals ever entered the picture. Those were freestanding imaging centers. A hospital outpatient department typically charges 2 to 3 times what a freestanding center does for the same procedure. And the gap only widens once hospitals join in. Across hundreds of American hospitals, the average cash price for this knee scan is around $2,500, and many charge well past $3,000. Take Phoenix. One health system lists the scan around $666 at its outpatient imaging center. At that same system's own hospital, the cash price is over $1,600, and the listed charge tops $3,000. Same scan, same city, same name on the building. The international comparison made America look ordinary. The local comparison is where it gets strange. That 566 tells us about the average. It doesn't tell us how wide that range is underneath. There's one more layer, and it's the strangest one. Stay at a single hospital. One building, one procedure code. The price still isn't one number. It depends on which insurer is paying. At one hospital in New Mexico, the negotiated price for a lower back MRI depended entirely on the plan. Medicare Advantage plans, a little over $200. Medicaid plans, a few hundred. Commercial plans, anywhere from about $500 up to $1,800. Same hospital, same procedure. Nothing about the scanner changed. Nothing about the hospital changed. Only the contract changed. And this isn't some quirk of knees. The same kind of spread shows up in spine scans and in brain scans. Different scans, same pattern, not one price or range. So why does one standardized procedure end up with so many prices? Because America doesn't use one national rate for this procedure. Insurers negotiate their own contracts with hospitals, so the same scan can carry a different price from one contract to the next. Uninsured patients can face a different price again, and the hospital's own list price can sit higher than all of them. The setting adds to it. Hospital outpatient pricing can carry facility-related charges that don't show up the same way at a freestanding center, which is part of why the same procedure runs higher inside a hospital. But the variation we just saw at that one New Mexico hospital didn't come from the building or the machine. It came from the contracts. And today, we can see much more of this because hospitals are required to publish their prices. When researchers opened the files, the same procedure at the same hospital carried a different number for many insurers. The variation was always there. It just wasn't easily visible to the public. So here's how the two things fit together. The chart isn't wrong. It's answering a different question. It tells us the average price. It doesn't tell us how predictable that price is. The international average and the American patient's experience can both be true at the same time. The average can look completely ordinary, while the prices underneath it are anything but. For this scan, America's real distinction isn't that it sits at the top of the chart. It's how little that spot in the chart tells you about the price attached to any particular scan. So the honest answer to what does an MRI cost in America isn't $500, and it isn't $3,000. The honest answer is that there isn't one. The price depends on the building, the insurer, the city, and a stack of decisions made long before anyone slid into the machine. The scan is the standardized part. The price around it isn't. And a scan is one of the simpler things a hospital does. If a single knee MRI can hide this much spread, the bill for having a baby is built upon dozens of these. That's the next one. This channel explains how the system works. If you found this information interesting, this channel's goal is to explain how the system works. Please subscribe for the next video, and all of the sources are in the description below this video. Thank you.